One thing that's been hugely helpful to me in establishing and celebrating and acknowledging and continuing progress on creating habits in recent months and years has been to track externally. So, not just internally, I'll have a whole nother episode on that, but external tracking, which is essentially, if you think about it, it's like social media for ourselves. It's giving ourselves our own feedback loop for validation, which is brilliant because it doesn't feel good if you post something and you're constantly going back to check it to see did anybody see it, did anybody like it, did anybody comment. When we're seeking the validation externally, I mean, it's normal because we're human and we are social creatures by nature, but also we're giving all of our power away. And so the benefit, if nobody likes it, is that it forces us to like it ourselves, like to validate ourselves. And ultimately, that's all we have control over. So why not apply that to our habits? So let's talk all about what's been helpful in terms of habit creation and external tracking. I like to use a 12 by 12 wall calendar. This is inspired by Marcia Shander years ago, sharing that she was giving herself star stickers for a habit she was creating. And I thought that is brilliant. I don't use stickers currently, but I do use symbols and shorthand. Or recently, when I started recording podcasts again, I put a pretty pink metallic heart, a metallic Sharpie, and I put a heart on the days that I'm actually recording and scheduling these podcasts. And really think about it. It is dopamine, it is celebration, it is acknowledgement, and it is a visual way to just see something that, I mean, I can't see that I work. Oh, I can see, like if I'm starting to see changes in my body or feel changes in my energy, but this is a visual way for me to see, wow, look at all the days I have my symbol for doing my adrenal mocktail or doing my red light or doing my workout and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, when it comes to habit creation and the progress, I'm thinking of it in terms that can help our brains organize this information. So, let's think about this in terms of streaks and stacks. So, streaks a la Duolingo, which my oldest is currently on a 100-day plus Duolingo streak, to the point where last night he was like, wait, I forgot to do my Duolingo for the day. I do think they allow you to freeze your streak for a day or two, and we'll get to the benefits of that here in a minute. But when I say streak, I'm talking about it's consecutive links in the chain. It's momentum through consistency. There's the weight and the oomph behind it. It's like boom, bing, bang, boom. I'm doing this every day. And there's this cascade of consistency. It is like a powerful force when you have a streak. What's cool is that at some point, you get to a tipping point where it starts to feel weird not to do the thing, not to take the action. It's like the Tootsie Roll commercial. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll pop? How many days of a streak is it going to take of you doing this thing, taking this action? How many days is it going to take until you reach that tipping point where it starts to feel strange or not to do it? Let's find out. Why not? Get curious and see. Okay, you at some point reach, is it, I don't think it's 21 days. I think you still have so much mental chatter. I do. Still so much back and forth in your mind. But after a couple months, a few months, it's pretty solid. It's starting to be automated to where, like with this podcast recording, I'm starting to add in new habits because these are starting to feel just ingrained, integrated. It's part of my identity. It feels like at this point, because this is just how I baseline take care of myself, like showering and brushing my teeth and things. What's cool about a streak, there are drawbacks. We'll get to that in a second. But what's cool about a streak, really, for moms especially, okay, reduces decision fatigue. You know, if you're parenting and you're making decisions on behalf of all kinds of other humans, or if you have a team and you're trying to make all these decisions, having a streak and an action that's already decided for you in advance helps you not have to think about it every single day. It's not up for debate. Our brains like to relax into automation. And that's why creating a new track can feel really challenging at first. But it's already decided ahead of time, like school or work, feeding your children, like these things aren't optional. We're just going to do them every day. We can relax into the routine versus if it's like 4 out of 7 days this week, I'm going to do this. Well, unless you decide what exactly those 4 days are, which you can do, and you can say, I'm going to do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and you decide ahead of time, then that helps you relax into the routine. But if you say, I'm going to do 4 out of 7 days, and every day you're like, is today one of the four? Nah. Okay, is today one of the four? Nah. It's like you're betting on the tomorrow version of yourself to have a different mindset, but she's not going to, because you didn't do the thing today. So she's probably not more likely to have different thoughts about it tomorrow. Doing it today is what makes it likely for you to do it tomorrow, not flicking it and snoozing it to tomorrow. I'm speaking from experience here. And it's okay. Like I said, if it's 4 out of 7 days, I just recommend, if you're going to say 4 out of 7 days and it's not a daily thing, then just pre-decide what those days are going to be, just from an energetic perspective. The whole point of why we're doing this at all is to boost our energy, physically, mentally, spiritually, socially, financially, whatever it is. So we don't need the decision fatigue of having to decide every single day or in the moment. It just feels exhausting. So as much as you can decide for yourself ahead of time, that is self-care. That's taking care of yourself, because you're taking the negotiation off the table. And what's helpful to me to think about is a permission slip that's like a punch card, with a little hole punch. And so the power of a streak is that you think twice before skipping a day, because now that's your norm after a while. Again, it takes a while to get to that point, but you think twice before skipping a day, because you're like, well, I don't really want to break the streak. Like, why would I? Unless you have a really good reason. And sometimes you do have a really good reason. And so that's where we want to remember the drawback of a streak, which is that it can spark perfectionism, all or nothing extremes, where you're like, I'm off the track. I fell off the wagon, the proverbial wagon. But let's not think about it like a track or a wagon. Earth is just a giant people mover and we can't fall off of it. Okay, we're just going to we're here. We can't fall off the track. It's like falling off the face of the earth. We can't actually do that. Thank you, gravity. Okay, so we're not going to fall off the track. Remember the mom brain mentality. It's not because I said so. You're going to do this no matter what because I said so. That's not what it is. We're doing it because it's my job to take care of you as you learn to take care of yourself. So when you are on a day where you've had a streak and today you're like, I don't know if I can do it today, then go back to that mom brain mentality and just think, am I going to feel better for having done it? Or am I going to feel worse? So when I think about days where I would be tempted to break my streak, it's usually because I'm either really tired or I feel really stressed. Okay, if I feel really stressed, then a lot of my stuff currently, like I said, is physical. And even the podcast feels like a physical well-being check in the box. Then doing the thing would actually make me feel better. So it's normal for me to have the resistance and the thoughts, because these are new things. Like I'm Bambi sea legs on ice, just trying to reestablish these habits. It's normal for me to think that. But when I let mom brain take over, it's like, is it going to help me or hurt me to do this? Because I want to make the choice that's actually going to help me more, both immediately and long term. If it's going to hurt me, then I'm punching the card and the permission slip, because my job is to take care of myself. I'm not forcing myself to do something that's actually going to hurt me. So for example, today, it's perfect timing. I don't know if it's a combination of this cough that I have and whatever we were doing in this Pilates class. I started doing Pilates recently, just once a week, just to add it in. And I'm really, really enjoying it, like on the reformer and all of that. For years, I've been curious about Pilates and I'm really loving it. But yesterday we did a lot of stuff with like twisting and obliques and whatever. And this morning, as I was letting Molly, our family dog, out, it just felt like a vice grip around my ribs. Like it just felt like it couldn't really move. And so I'm like, oh, that'll be interesting. I wonder if today, the day that I'm recording this podcast, is going to be the first day in over 3 months straight that I've been doing my T-tap workout, if I'm not going to be able to do it. So I really sat with it and thought about it. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do my pelvic floor one, because that doesn't involve twisting and doing stuff with my back. And then I was like, I wonder which T-tap moves I could do. So I started to do it. I was very slow and very intentional. And there were still, most of the moves I was still able to do. And then the ones that were just going to be aggravating my back, I didn't do, because I don't want to hurt myself. I want to help myself. So I'm icing, resting, ibuprofen, arnica, red light. I'll do all those things just to kind of help hopefully kick some healing into place. But I wasn't going to push it. And I feel totally fine about that. And I feel like there's a version of me that at some point would have been upset about it, because I was more in the perfectionist-y streak or bust. It's all or nothing, or I'm off track and now I have to start over at zero. And I just don't subscribe to that anymore because it's not helpful to what I actually care about, which is just continuing to accumulate the benefits of taking these actions. And so that's what I want to talk about with the idea of the stacking as opposed to the streak. So when you think of a streak, again, it's consistency, the continuity, but a stack is just an accumulation. It's compounding. It's the pile. So think about how many days this week could I do this? Or how many days this month could I get? Is it 10,000 steps? Is it making a certain amount of revenue? Is it getting 7 hours, 8 hours of sleep? Like whatever the habits are that you're working to create, if you're looking at it from a streak, you're looking at how many consecutive days. But when you're thinking about the stack, it's just that overall accumulation of the days where you did the thing, where you checked that box, filled that heart bubble. So you could think of it in terms of savings, for example. Is it one lump sum a couple times a year and you're making your annual IRA contributions? Or even if you're batching something content-wise, like podcast recordings or writing emails, it's not like it has to be a steady daily drip, evenly split over all of the days of your life for it to be valuable. That's not true. That's great for automation because it's the routine and all that. But there are benefits in stacks just as much as there are benefits to streaks. There could be just that feeling of a big whoosh of progress and it still counts. So using a sleep example, I'm going to definitely take a nap today because I got just a little under 7 hours according to my Aura ring. And I like to get at least 7, if not 8 these days, because thankfully, after a decade of having little people that wake up more often, now they wake up less often and I can get more sleep. So tacking on a nap today helps me stack more sleep. Boom. So the whole point of stacks and streaks, it's really just about being honest about which choices feel truly nourishing and supportive of the way that we want to show up for ourselves. That's all. That's the point. So if you tend to get wrapped up in perfectionism around a streak, I hope that you can see the benefit of the streak. Again, it's that momentum, it's the identity. It gets to be really automated. It reduces decision fatigue. And also, when you need to take a day off and you punch that permission slip, know that it all still counts. It's still ultimately at the end of the day, month, year, life, it's about stacking. How many of these moments, habits, benefits can we stack? And it's not about a perfect consecutive chain. That's actually just not how it works. But it is fun if you want to use that to your advantage. It has been very helpful to me. And it's cool to adapt. Again, tap into that mom brain mentality and remember that it's not because I said so. We're not forcing it. It's not just blind allegiance to a course of action that we prescribed. It's about taking care of ourselves. That's the point. And you're worthy of that. I hope this helps. Let me know how you're doing over there with whatever habit you're creating. Hit the link in the comment box and I'll meet you back here soon. Okay, technically that was the end of the episode, but since you're still here, 1, I'd love to thank you for spending part of your day with me, and 2, I'd love to ask you if you would take 30 seconds, maybe 60, to leave a rating and review in your podcast app before you tap out today. If you've already done that, it's amazing. Please send me a screenshot so I can thank you personally, and know that sharing this episode with a friend has the same magical powers, and I deeply appreciate both. Also, in case you're listening to the end to see if I ever actually introduce myself, hi! My name is Nikki Elledge Brown. I'm the host and author of Naptime Empires and this here On Her Terms podcast. You can find me around the internet at Nikki Elledge Brown in most places, but what you may appreciate most is actually over at onherterms.com. It's what I call the insider library. It's where you can get inside scoop, first listen rights, email updates every time there's a new episode, and then special insider only bonus content. It's all over in our private feed. Okay, that's a wrap for real. I'll meet you in the next episode.